Welcome to the second part of the color video. Yes, so in this video I'll basically be making designs with the colors like the palettes I made in the previous video. For the first design I was working with gradients, basically making these like orbs and like shapes that have the use of gradients that I collected from like the palette. I think I tried to like mix up the colors, but keeping it monochromatic was really helpful for this design, or made it simpler for me. So I took a course on Skillshare, or I didn't like complete it, but I jumped from like one course to another as a thing. So yeah, basically they worked with poster design using gradients, so that's kind of what I was trying to imitate here. It's a cool class, you can check it out on Skillshare. I'm not sponsored, by the way. So I took the shapes into Photoshop where I made the poster. It was basically like trying to figure out a way to, harmoniously arrange things. It was cool having made shapes previously in Illustrator saves time in Photoshop for sure. So that's what I did here. I'm basically making that poster here. Use the default poster size of a page, and made this. So for this design, I took my friend Micah, who actually the palette came from a different picture of him, and basically used that, cropped him, give him a disembodied head. I had to use the curvature tool to create a selection to make the collar more straight. I know the selection tool is a really weird one in Photoshop. It's like really helpful, but at the same time, it's not perfect per se. So there are different ways you can like work through selections. Having him in black and white helps in this because the emphasis is on him, considering that there's a high contrast between him and like the background, with like the black being the darkest part. But also with the shapes, like he has contrast with the shapes as well, and the shapes like they have that variety as far as like color, while we have a monochromatic like focus point. And let's give him an earring, because why not? You know what I'm saying? The eyedropper tool is really key in this like whole color thing, considering that you can just like click on it and it's like it takes up the color automatically. Thank you for saving time, eyedropper. Or like whoever's idea was to make that. Or yeah. So for this third one, I'm working with more like nature colors, basically green, orange, whatever that color is. It's kind of like a shade of a tint of orange. We have to get the terminology right. It's a tint because when you add white, if you know, you know. Shout out to all my designers, or people who happen to have taken like classes for this kind of stuff. I learned this in class too, so yeah. For this third design, I ended up with more of a logo type, like more of a like that kind of a design, sort of a simplistic thing, implying like a tree but also implying like a mountain with the thing. The theme for this is like Natura, which you can imagine would be a company that could use this kind of a logo. So I tried doing sort of like a drop shadow. I did have issues with it, so I ended up just taking it out and replacing that with gradients, which you will see in a bit. Having some of the shapes be flat color images and having some of the other shapes have gradients, it creates like sort of a visual variety. And that was that design. So for this one, I'm actually using the photo in the design, similar to the first one I did, but not in the way I used in the first one. I'm actually going to take the image here and use that, try to like adapt that to fit into the color palette. Selection tool and hair are like, I don't know what to compare them to. It's just hard. Super difficult to do. But actually you get used to it. There's like the tool that provided, the select and mask, the refine brush tool. Yes, that's what that's called. So yeah. I think for this palette I could see more like a military, like, you know, like sort of forest green background with like different colors there. So yeah, I kept playing around with different things. Like I learned about this, like where you can warp pictures, try to see if I could use that in the design, create more like the dynamic, but at the same time it just didn't fit in, so I ended up taking it out. Yeah, played around with different like little accents, different little, you know, touches I could add to the picture. It was interesting, like some things seemed like they were being a bit much, or, you know, passing along a message that I was not trying to give off. So yeah, I ended up just like keeping things like more minimal, as I do. Maybe I'm just lazy. Back to Illustrator to create more gradient shapes. I'm actually working with the wrong gradient initially, but then I eventually like realized, like, wait a minute, I've done this before. So yeah, for this, it was a very nice thing creating these monochromatic like gradients, because I am like, it was super easy, like barely an inconvenience. Okay, that line is not my line. Shout out to the dude who does the pitch meeting videos on YouTube. I just stole your quote, so yeah. Give credit where credit is due. So yeah, basically using circles and also creating organic shapes. I also learned sort of seeing them from doing this in Skillshare. That is where the inspiration for this came from. Also, working with the gradient tool wasn't easy. I was trying to create like a gradient like outline and not a fill, but as I kept trying to do it, it kept going back to the fill, so I ended up just ditching that shape entirely. You know, we still have to learn things. So took that into Photoshop. Did not film the process of me making this, but here's the finished piece. Basically, you know, starting out like black background helps, you know, have contrast with the shapes. Then creating those like gradients, I was trying to go for like an implied feeling of space and just like calmness at the same time with the sort of flat shapes. The piece is called Eclipse, whatever, however you choose to say that word. So yeah, so I'm just going to present the rest of the pieces that I made using the other ones. One of them was a branding package that I did. I I wasn't inspired by the colors. It was more like I needed a palette for a branding package I was working on. So that can be found on my Behance, but I'll also show images here. So thank you for watching. Hopefully you can get inspired, work with your own colors as well. Share with your friends, like, subscribe, do all the things that you do, and stick around for videos coming up, considering doing things in logo design, or sharing things that like working in logo design or more posters to be made in the future, or even music stuff. So keep it locked. That's another line I took from somewhere else, but yeah, stick with me. Hit me up, let me know what you think in the comments, and peace.